Hi, everyone, and welcome. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about Loris. And today with me, we have Tara, the Senior Account Executive at Loris. We also have Brian, Head of Revenue, and myself. So, yeah, let's get started.
Okay, just so everybody knows, this is my first panel and my first time using a mic to talk to a room of people, so if I word vomit, I'm a little nervous. I come from the legacy QA space myself. I used to work at Maestro QA. I now work at Loris. We've been revolutionizing kind of how QA is done. We'll get more into that in a minute here. Brian, maybe some background about yourself too.
Sure. Brian Sang, this is week 2 for me. Very accustomed to the mic, but the reason I joined Laura, so I was working in CX and I spent a career in growing out organizations, and I was at a company before using artificial intelligence to try to automate the agent experience, assist agents to help them get answers to complex questions. Long story short, I realized that what Loris was doing was the thing that I actually needed. So I was really excited to join the company and join forces with the CEO who I used to work with.
You've been a great boss so far.
It's only week 2.
And maybe just to set kind of like a high level context of what Loris does, we should have had a slide for this, but we didn't. Loris is a conversational intelligence platform. You can kind of think of it as 3 pillars that work together to create a really seamless feedback loop to promote quality. The first one being automated voice of the customer analytics. Once you really know what the issues are with your customers, you then can implement change by using those insights to do targeted QA or using our co-pilot tool to guide agents in real-time conversations that are really, really tough and that they struggle with to make sure they're always saying the right thing at the right time. All right, that was my summary.
Thank you. So I have a few questions for you guys. And the first one is, Brian, why does customer experience feel more complicated today? What has changed?
Because it is. So, looking at how CX has evolved over the last 10 to 15 years, we've really gone from predominantly phone-based support, legacy systems, on-prem. Many of you in this room may not even know what that is, but we've evolved to cloud, faster information, and really an omni-channel customer experience. And we've heard kind of in some of the earlier sessions, we need to meet customers where they are, which is very, very difficult. It's hard enough to stand up one channel and to deliver effective support across channels, across software stacks. It is becoming much, much more difficult. And you've got customer expectations that are increasing. Because technology is improving at such a rapid rate, we can get whatever we need with the touch of a few buttons, right? We can order an Uber, we can get food delivered, I can book travel, quick. And so we expect to get answers on demand. And when we have a problem, that expectation rolls through the customer experience, which creates a lot of pressure on the CX teams to provide good support. And unfortunately, we've talked about it to some extent. I think it's great to see in this room everybody's thinking about it the correct way, in that CX, when designed properly, is a huge differentiator and it delivers a wonderful customer experience. Unfortunately, it's still viewed as a cost center to some extent, and lately, over the past couple of years, budgets have become tight, right? Budgets are always tight. So it's the CX environment where we always have to do more with less. How can we improve and become more efficient? And I think now with partners like Horatio, the technology that's coming out to market, CX leaders are going to have a seat at the table because it is the most important part of business operations. Ultimately, you are in business to acquire customers, and to treat those customers with respect is so important, but still very difficult to do.
100%. And just to add to that, from a Horatio standpoint, we obviously value customers so much, and that is our one of our core values. So because of that, partnering with Loris to be able to leverage their technology to, make our QAs more efficient as, business continues to scale. So that's one of the things that we saw more of Loris that we wanted to bring to Horatio. Brian, now tell us, why has AI become a critical conversation in CX?
Well, because everybody's talking about it, right? So you've seen there was a breakthrough back in 2017, 2018 with this technology called transformers, which gave rise to large language models. But transformers are essentially transforming language, image into code and computer code. So as machines start to understand language, you see what can be done now with ChatGPT. So once ChatGPT launched, you had a whole bunch of executives not really wanting to invest in AI. It's complicated, I don't understand it, to now in 2023, most executive teams, most boards of directors are asking about AI strategies. What are we doing with AI? And because of that, everybody has some AI acronym as part of their company, whether you do AI or not. And one of the interesting things about Loris and the unique aspect of Loris, and so when I was working in other aspects of the CX ecosystem, knowledge management, process automation, QA, technologies, et cetera, I kept going back to the customer conversations because the value, the exhaust of your business operation is in the customer conversations. Everything you want to know about what is going on in the business is typically in those customer conversations. And the interesting thing about Loris, they built their own large language model. Instead of indexing all of the text available on the internet, they built their models with hundreds of millions of customer conversations. So their AI model is trained on a specific data set of customer conversations, agent responses, bot responses, and it creates a very interesting way to start to understand conversations at scale, so you don't have to manually sample conversations to figure out what's going on. That traditional type of QA process, you can scan all of those customer conversations to get insights and trends to then help your human staff figure out, what do we need to look at, what are the trends that are important.
Thank you. So Tara, as more clients express interest to utilize AI, the question is where to start. So how are you seeing organizations choose the right business process to deliver value to their customers?
I think everything starts with the data. So let the data do the talking. When you have AI and automation in place to tell you what the issues are, that really lends itself on how to solve it. So for example, once you understand at scale, what are our agents specifically struggling with, now you have a really strategic approach to do QA. You know you're focusing on the most important topics and coaching opportunities. Also, which topics should we hand off to a bot? What workflows should we set up with Copilot? So the insights really kind of set your foundation for added tech that you want to continue to iterate. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome.
So one thing I appreciate as a CX leader and working with so many clients is hearing what's working from peers. So I wanted to give you both the opportunity to share what we have worked with Loris. So basically our cases that we've worked on together.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. We have one health and wellness subscription company that we share. They're a very fast growing company. They basically needed the insights to create a tight feedback loop to continue to support that growth. So we implemented them on our QA and our insights. They were up and running in 2 weeks. And within 4 weeks, Horatio was able to basically prove what their agents struggled with, that their agents were actually the best agents compared to their in-house team. And after like 4 or 5 weeks, I think double or tripled their Horatio team. So they had access to those objective insights, what's working, what's not working, how to coach agents, and effectively grow the Horatio team as a result. These are some kind of like outputs we've seen with our tools. So increasing the efficiency of QA before and after Loris. So with Loris, you're 10xing the output of output of reviews being done, And here, just some overall impacts to the business. With those targeted insights, understanding where agents are struggling, we're able to empower agents to solve more conversations, emails, chats, phone calls. Analysts are able to analyze more conversations in less time. So the workload for analysts is increasing substantially, as you see here, and as well as the QA coverage. So we've seen a lot of really cool impacts to the business here.
And from a Horatio aspect, I think one of the things that we've seen is how our QA analysts become so efficient because everything is literally in one platform, which is the Loris platform. So instead of having to, QA manually, we use Loris to help obviously QA more and more agents as a business grows.
Go ahead.
And just to add, I think, one of the other things that why AI is so impactful for the CX organizations is because there's an enormous amount of metadata around the experience. So you have ticket categories, you have QA scores, you have a lot of rich data around these conversations. And just going back to that model that I was talking about, when Loris trained on customer conversations, we can understand soft skills and what is effective communication. So when we scan conversations, almost all conversations are scored to understand exactly how well an agent is doing with those agent's soft skills. And so the effective communication just happens out of the box. And I love the Triforce from Seated, because that loop is so important. And when you're sampling 1% to 3% of all of your customer conversations, you can miss a lot of data within it. And so by starting to sample and understand trends, insights on 100% of your conversations, you can make that loop faster and then surface insights and trends that you then want your QA analyst team to actually dig into. And you can start to see things in the business like, oh, well, we just shipped a new software update. This patch release actually spiked the ticket queue. And you can also start to understand with Loris where an agent may have an opportunity to get better or improve, or where the company does. And so you can start to understand, well, the customer actually really loved the interaction they were having with the agent, but they did not like this company process, the refund process, or the steps that they had to go through to actually solve their issue. And so those deeper insights in the customer conversations are really important to be able to feed that back to the business to consistently improve processes, products, procedures, to lower that overall ticket volume or continually increase the overall customer experience.
Okay, any questions so far?
Yeah, quick question about the accuracy level of your model out the box. And part two of that question is the training capabilities. How long till you get to a higher level threshold?
Yeah, so I can answer that. Because our models have been trained on 300 million plus support conversations, and this is a great question because it's a big differentiator for Loris. The out-of-the-box models are very, very highly attuned to customer sentiment, customer intent out of the box. So they take about 2 weeks to be up and running. And then we see a coverage and accuracy around 90%. The big differentiator is it's not a tool that you have to maintain and train for 4 or 5 months before it's providing any value, which we're seeing a lot of customers kind of get burned by that. We do believe this human-in-the-loop philosophy. So the analysts, for example, will always be able to either agree or disagree with what the model is putting out as scores to then better train the model, but it comes ready out of the box. And like I said, coverage and accuracy are both, we see around 90.
Are there any, I'm sorry for the follow-up, are there any industry-specific training that the model may require, selling watches versus t-shirts?
Yeah.
Right, the language that consumers may use in those those use cases may vary.
Yes, totally. So I am not the data analyst to give you that answer, but I know that our data analyst team. Yeah. Data scientists as well. But our team on those 300 million support conversations do vary by vertical. So there's standards that our team can help you to basically benchmark certain metrics that our tool also takes into consideration.
And then maybe just to add, there are common things across verticals, right? Intents, tag structures, contact reasons, et cetera. So we can go deep into those underlying conversations to, again, surface those things. And then to Tara's point around the human in the loop, then you can actually overlay QA scorecards to start to provide inputs or feedback into that model, so it can constantly improve and get personalized for your specific use case and conversations.
So, yeah, of course. I think one thing I want to add too is it's with all of the data and the insights being so easily accessible, it really changes QA to this proactive approach. I'm thinking of this example we had. It was an e-com company where they had facilities like shipping out product, and it was very, very hot in one of the places they had a shipping facility, and the heat was warping their product. And with our insights, they were able to identify that problem really quickly, call the shipping site, and change the temperature regulations or whatever, to then save a ton of money on shipping out bad product for a long period of time. So really prevent that from becoming a widespread issue. I would say that is the big differentiator in how we're empowering the people. They're no longer ask the question, what's driving my CSAT down for the past 4 months, and then you're frantically picking random tickets to sift through to try to answer that question. You can look at the data and really dig into the root cause easily.
So I had a follow-up question kind of building off of what Tu was sharing, or asking, I should say. So because your AI is more so utilizing, it sounds like, actual conversations, we just recently migrated, probably about 3 months ago, from Rich Panel to Zendesk. So is there going to be potentially a gap, or is there an opportunity for us to kind of grab all the learnings from our previous platform? And then in addition to that, can we also utilize articles or macros that we currently have to kind of feed it probation as well?
So yeah, the macro use case, I don't know if my answer specifically answers your question, so fill my gaps where I'm missing context, but we have kind of this heat map approach that helps you understand. We have this model, it's called review reasons, right? It's automatically surfacing churn threats to you. And a big application of our review reason models has been to revamp macros. So actually, one example we have with a Horatio client, within 4 weeks of being on our tool, they revamped 80% of their macros because they found that the macros were the target of the negative sentiment, not the agents. And like I said, really, really quickly, we're able to turn that around. Your first question on the migration to Zendesk, I didn't fully understand what information you were.
Yeah, so I think you guys had initially said that your guys' tool is basing its information learning off of current or previous tickets that are within your email platform. Since we recently migrated, is that going to be potentially an issue because we don't have years of it?
Oh, I understand. Yeah, so first, it's not just emails, it's completely omni-channel. And we plug into whatever your CRM is for that historical data. So we really only need about 3 months to identify those contact drivers automatically. So 3 months of data from your Zendesk. It's a good question on the last CRM, if we can go back. I honestly don't know the answer of that, but we don't need years of data. It takes us a few weeks to spin up a model on just a couple months. And today it is only English, but I will say the tool is very good at picking up on accents. Our tool is being used in 13 plus countries at this point, but as far as the data it's ingesting, only English. We see a lot of our partners implement a translation tool, and then they import those translated conversations into our tool.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.